Okay, this is part 3 of testimony, and I know this is kind of long, but I'm, going to be 70 this year, so I've had kind of a longer life, and God has given me a very full life, so I want to tell a little bit about what He's done that was so amazing, for me. After my divorce, I had to come back and live with my mom. That was not easy, and within a year's time, she died. And there's a whole story to that too, and how the Lord worked. But afterwards, there was a lot that I was nervous about, because I thought, now I don't have any income. I'm sick with what is now known as fibromyalgia. I couldn't work, and it was very debilitating. It wasn't a mild form, for sure. And I called, when my mother died, I called housing, because she had been on housing. She had lupus, and she had that lupus ever since she went to the school in Missouri for Unity cult, and had gotten involved with them. And so after her death, I had to call housing. They told me, because I had been helping care for her and been living with her, that I could inherit her account and stay there in the house. And that was a real miracle for me, because I never heard of such a thing. And it was a big help. My son was now 12 years old, and I'm not able to work, so housing really, really helped in that period when I was so sick. And we moved out of that particular apartment. There was a lot of crazy things that happened after she died. I was seeing demons. I was being attacked by demons in the night. I woke up one night and the whole ceiling was full of these bat-like spirits that I knew were witchcraft, and I knew I was seeing the main strong man that had been over my mother, because it was as big as and as long as the ceiling, and I was terrified, frankly. But God used these visitations, demonic visitations and appearances, to break down my fear of demons. And I don't want to go into all of that on this so much, but to say that every time I had one, by the third time I said Jesus, it was gone and out of there. And the last time I had one, I actually saw the demon as he left. And he was surrounded by light, long scraggly hair with a hunchback and talons. I knew because it scratched my knee, pounding on the bed. And I jumped up, and I was so angry. I went running after it as if I could catch it, and started, speaking Revelation 19 and 20 out loud, and turned on the worship. So God really did a work, in helping me overcome fear by going through fearful situations and Him rescuing me. And it also built trust, because I know that God is always going to come through for me, no matter how much I have to go through. And I went through nearly 15 years with the fibro. And in 2003, Todd Bentley came for a meeting with Pat King, and they were doing a TV show, and I was called to be an intercessor there. And he had a word of knowledge for me, and as I was going down for that word of knowledge, for asthma, he felt the pain in my body, and he called that out, and I got instantly healed of that. And I felt the Lord go through my lungs, but I think I still had so much rejection on me at the time that one didn't take too well. So I've still had the asthma, but the pain from the fibro was gone. And I still have health challenges, but that was an incredible miracle, because I had been in so much pain for so long. And even in the middle of all that, God began to work in me. While I was here in these apartments, I started doing a food ministry with through the church that I related to, the Foursquare and whatever, let me use their food bank thing, and I began to go to the food bank and get food for people here because I was doing a children's Bible study, and with the working poor here, mostly Mexican Americans, and so I would do up boxes on Monday, even when I was sick with the fibro, and I wouldn't be able to move for a couple days, but at least I could do something for the Lord. And then I would put, tracts or pieces of paper with scriptures and stuff in the boxes, and pray for people if they had problems when they came to pick up the food and stuff like that. And so I just kept reaching out as I could, and I did a bunch of things like, English classes for adults, and the children's Bible study was an amazing experience, and every one of the kids came to the Lord. Every one of the kids experienced Holy Spirit, and their hands got hot. They all had healing gifts poured out, and I knew that was like a forerunning of what was coming in this hour. And then the Lord, my back had some problems after doing this for a while, and the Lord said he was changing things 180 degrees, and then all of a sudden he was launching me to nations. I went to a meeting in Colorado, and I got invited to go to Belize, and I went to Belize only because here I am on housing and all this stuff, and suddenly this man starts to support me. The Lord told him and put it on his heart, because I'd been putting some prophecies online, and he said that the Lord told him to help support me. So he sent me $1,000. So I was able to send 100 tithes to India for some orphans that, through a man I'd met there online. And then I was able to go to the trip to Belize. And that was wonderful. And then the next couple months, he increased the amount, and then after that, he gave me a car, and it wasn't just any car. It was a Durango, and it was not a cheap car. It was a $22,000 car, and I didn't have that kind of money. I mean, I hadn't had that kind of money for a long time, so because of being sick and everything for so long. So God just did it, and he had told me, I'm going to make a way for you, and you're going to slip through the hands of, and he was referring to the church, because the church had no respect for me at all. Having the history I did, and having not being a sophisticated person, they didn't accept me to be as one who God would use to do anything. So God had already told me, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna see you through. And then this man gave me money for a trip to India. So in 2001 in January, I went to India for a month with someone I'd met from Indiana, and we had a wonderful trip and an amazing experience in India. And then I was able to go on another trip to India in 2002, and we stayed longer. I stayed, that time I went alone. I went for 3 months. He had given me instructions that I would be there for 16 weeks. And then I went to Russia for a month, and I had another couple trips to Russia, so in the far east of Russia. And one trip I was also in Moscow. So I had these wonderful time in the Lord. I had experienced renewal through the Toronto revival and Brownsville, and I saw lots of miracles in India and Russia, and people set on fire, people delivered, eyes that were blind. Many times in India, I saw young children begin to speak and to hear, and they had been deaf and dumb. And goiters healed and all that kind of thing. But usually I was only in a village for, one day, and then we go to a different place the next day. So I didn't always see it immediately. I'd get reports back of what had happened. So then after all these wonderful experiences, then all of a sudden I was back. The last trip I made was 2003. It was Russia. I went to Bulgaria and to Romania, and then I had the blessing to meet Simon-Tov and his wife in Israel for a few days near Rosh Hashanah. And I didn't want to come home from Israel. I just wanted to stay. It just wasn't long enough, to experience everything there. But the whole time I was there, I couldn't sleep. I prayed all the time, at night. And I wasn't tired in the morning because it was God's assignment, He was giving me strength to go, and I got to see Galilee and the temple in Capernaum, and it was just a wonderful time, and they were such gracious hosts. So that was the end of most of my trips, that I made. So I haven't been on the road since 2003, and the Lord had more healing that He wanted to do in me. And I had met a man online who was very experienced in doing deliverance in families that where there was Illuminism or Freemasonry or Satanism and stuff like that. And I, even after my trips to India and seeing miracles, and God let me do miracles even when I wasn't totally free from some demons that I got through the abuse. But when he prayed with me, he had tremendous authority. He's in his 70s, and over the phone, and he knew exactly what had gone on, and helped me get free of those demons. And so it's been just like a gradual process, one thing after another that God has done in delivering me. And during the time I was in the Foursquare Church, I totally was blessed by a woman I met who is my spiritual mom, and she and her husband have supported me a lot, so much through these years. And she, for 4 years, she came to my apartment, 4 years, every week, other than holidays, and she would spend 2-3 hours with me doing inner healing. And by inner healing, I'm not talking about the New Age practice. I'm talking about just relying on Holy Spirit to guide us and how to pray, and let Him show me what He wanted to heal, and, to get me to the place of forgiveness for all the things that I went through. My foster mom used to beat on me, sometimes so bad that, she'd punch me in the face, or she'd slam my head against the wall in the basement. One time when I went to get x-rays for a sinus, the doctor came out and he said, "Where did you get this fracture in your jaw?" And I'm like, I didn't even know I had a fracture in a jaw. And it was because of her, punching me in the face when I was in high school and was going through some rough times with her. So God, in His mercy, has just step by step, little by little, removed things from my life, and he's got more he's going to do to remove. And here I am, almost 70. So for someone like me that came out of the kind of abuse I did, that's sometimes a very long process. Now, for some people like Saul, he got an amazing experience on the road to Damascus, and he was totally transformed. Okay, but God doesn't always do that with everybody, and He knows just how much a person can handle. So from one step to the next step, He's done it in my life, and He's the kindest person I know. He won't ever leave you or forsake you. And even when you blow it and make big mistakes, which I have made in this time of being in ministry and in this time of having the nonprofit, I've made my share of gross mistakes. And even then, God has been so faithful, God has been forgiving, and God has been so kind as to urge me to continue on and keep going, and given me the courage and the grace to do it. So he's trustworthy and he's kind. He's not the hammer. He's not got the hammer in his hand going to bonk you on the head. He's wonderful, and his voice most often is so kind and loving, and you have to be pretty hard-hearted for him to be tough with you. He will be tough with you if he need be, but most of the time he's loving God, and he never condemns you. That's the devil's job. So hold on. I'm still waiting for my physical healing to be completed, and deliverance that I need, and I know he's going to do it. That he's doing it now, as he always has, step by step. And one of these days it's going to be super duper, and I'm going to have even more testimony to give. So God bless you, and I hope it encourages you, especially when you've grown up with a lot of difficulties and rejection in your life, to know that God really loves you, and that he never gives up on you. Good night.